Hello boys and girls, welcome to Little Treasures. Thank you for those who sent in some videos of making bread like the little red hen, and we're going to look at those there now. And this is some sourdough bread that Sophia made with her children. And here's little Grace putting it together, kneading it with her fingers. Here's some lovely banana bread which they made too during lockdown. And what else did they make? Here's Christopher and Jacob, and what are they doing? They're poking their fingers in this dough. I wonder what they'll turn out to be. Yes, you guessed it, they're bagels. Yum! And also sent in to me was this photo of some lovely scrummy little red hen bread made by Daniel, Luke and Sam. Hope you enjoyed eating it. Yummy too! So, I guess you're wondering why I'm dressed like this. Well, let me put this on as well. And if I had a pair of binoculars, I would wear those too. Why? Because we are going to go and look for some birds in Clonakilty Bay. Yes, join me as we go down the bay and see what birds we can find. And I'm going to encourage you this week maybe to go down there as well and check out some of the bird life. Now we know it's winter and it's very dark most of the time, but if you get out in the morning and go down the Inchydoney Road out of Clonakilty, you'll get to see lots of birds feeding beside where the road is. And we won't need to disturb the birds because they're kind of used to traffic and people walking by. And here we have some mute swans. They're so graceful looking, and people take time to look at the birds too, don't they, as they walk by. What else have we got here? I think I see some mallard. These are like dabbling ducks, and they're very, very colourful. You probably know what this bird is. He's called a laughing gull. But you know, it's not easy to work out what each bird is called. So very helpfully, these notice boards are here, and they identify each bird that's common to this area. Check it out, and then come with me and Sam, and we'll go and see if we can spot a few more birds. Now, as far as I can tell from the notice board, these are what are called red shank, and they overwinter in our area. In fact, there tends to be more of them because they come in from Iceland at this time of the year. But they're a very pretty bird, aren't they? Now this next bird is white like a swan, but he isn't a swan. And he's feeding in our area here too. Very pretty bird. I think it's an egret. Because wait till you see, he's got lovely yellow webbed feet. Look, did you see that? And there he is feeding. Wonder did he get anything? Looks like a piece of seaweed, doesn't it? And again, using the board to help me, as far as I can tell, this is what's called an oyster catcher. And it feeds on our coastline as well. And there really are so many birds to see here from the road. Remember, don't get too close to them because we don't want to disturb them like that there. What are these birds called, I wonder? I'm still not too sure myself. I think they're either plover or they're curlews. Maybe somebody would let me know. I do know what these are called though. These are the mute swan. And look, they sure know how to clean themselves, don't they? And earlier this summer, I tracked these ones down at Ring. And this is a swan with her cygnets or swanlings swimming around her. Look at the colour of them. They're not even white, are they? But they might turn white. And off in the distance I can see another white swan over there. Boys and girls, do go and look at the swans this week in Clonakilty, or wherever you are if there are swans around. It might remind you of the lovely story I'm about to read to you now. So, here's the story of the Ugly Duckling. In the countryside, a mother duck minded her nest full of eggs. One day, an older duck came along and pointed to an egg which was quite different from the others in the nest. "What an ugly duck egg," said the older duck. "It looks more like a turkey egg. Be careful, if that duckling does grow up to be a turkey, because turkeys don't swim very well." "Well, let's give it time to hatch and see what sort of duck comes out," replied the mother duck curtly. One by one the eggs hatched and out came fluffy yellow ducklings. Only the odd-looking egg now sat alone in the nest. When the last egg finally began to move, the family of ducks gathered round to watch. The egg broke open and out tumbled a funny little creature who balanced on his head. This made the other ducklings laugh. The last duckling wasn't yellow or fluffy, but a kind of mousy grey with dark legs and a dark pointy beak. "Hello," he squawked. Because of his odd looks, he was named the Ugly Duckling. This wasn't very nice, but the Ugly Duckling didn't complain. He tried to learn all the things the other ducks learned and wanted to be the best duck he could be. The mother duck was happy to see that the Ugly Duckling wasn't a poor swimmer, like a turkey, but instead was quite graceful in the water. She did, however, correct him for how he walked. "Keep your feet pointing out, dear. You're walking with your toes pointing in, but that is not how ducks walk." "Yes, mother," said the Ugly Duckling. He stared at his feet. He forced them to point outwards and reminded himself to keep them like this with every step. The day came when the ducks moved to the farmyard. The mother duck was very proud to show off her children, including the Ugly Duckling, because he was such a good swimmer. But the Ugly Duckling was quite clumsy. Walking like a duck was hard work, and he often fell over, or fell into another animal, or sometimes fell into a pail or banged into a rake like in this picture. The animals on the farm found this funny. They would laugh and point and call him names. Soon even the Ugly Duckling's own brothers and sisters joined in on teasing him. Well, the Ugly Duckling decided he could not stay at the farm. So one evening he packed up his things. "They call me ugly, but I cannot change the colour of my beak, or help that my feathers aren't bright yellow," he sniffled. "And they make fun of my walk, but walking with my feet pointing in feels so much better." He was sad and scared, but he could no longer call the farm his home. He hoped he could find somewhere better. He walked and swam for days, but always hid when he saw another animal. "If they see me, they will call me ugly," he thought, "and I would rather be lonely than be called that." One afternoon he saw some humans with dogs and ran into the tall reeds to hide. A dog growled at him, "You look tasty," and pulled his human closer and closer. The Ugly Duckling was certain the man would see him, but another human whistled and the man left, pulling the dog away. The Ugly Duckling wandered on, but the days became shorter and the nights became colder. Late one evening he heard a flapping of wings and looked up to see 3 beautiful white beasts. "What are they?" he thought. "They're beautiful." They were swans. But because he had never met a swan before, the duckling did not know this. He went to sleep that night dreaming of the swans. They looked different, and he thought they were the most wonderful creatures he had ever seen. He loved their long necks
their white feathers, and the graceful way they moved. The duckling looked for the swans every day, but as it was winter, they had all flown south. He carried on alone. The duckling found he kept warmest while swimming in the high reeds of a pond, so he stayed on the water. As the pond began to ice over, he had less and less room to swim, and one day he fell asleep as the ice formed under him. A farmer spotted the duckling in the pond. Seeing the bird was frozen to the ice, he carefully freed him. The duckling did not awake until he was in the warmth of the man's farmhouse, with the sounds of children playing and their mother cooking.
"Meow! Who are you?" meowed the cat. "I'm called the Ugly Duckling," replied the duckling.
"Oh," replied the cat, who had suddenly become bored and sauntered off. The children saw that the duckling was awake and ran over to him. The duckling was eager to make friends with the kids. He tried to think of what they'd want him to do. The duckling tucked his feet under his body and shortened his neck as best he could. Then he attempted to meow. But this came out sounding more like a squeak. The children laughed. This made the duckling feel great. He'd try another trick. He would hop down onto the floor like he saw the cat do. But he wasn't really a cat. His landing was quite rough, and he knocked over a milk jug. The mother shouted with surprise. The children hurried after the duckling, who now ran terrified throughout the house, squawking and flapping as he went. Ah! The duckling was afraid of what might happen if the children caught him, so he ran out the farmhouse door and back into the cold winter air. The duckling was more careful now. He made sure not to get stuck on the ice and continued avoiding other animals. Spring came and he noticed that he'd grown in size. His wings spread much wider, though he still needed to learn how to fly. His neck felt longer, and it seemed like his grey feathers were getting lighter in colour every day. The duckling saw that the pond had melted, and he was eager for a swim. As he got near the water, he had a wonderful surprise. He saw his own reflection. He looked exactly like those beautiful birds he had been dreaming about. Just then he heard a voice behind him. "Hello there, Swan!" The duckling turned round to see two beautiful birds smiling at him. "Excuse me," he replied, "but I am the Ugly Duckling." "Oh no, my friend. You are a swan, just like us," replied the swan, "and a beautiful one at that. Looks like you have a lot of catching up to do. Would you like to join our family?" "Yes, very much," he replied. And from that day on, the swan lived a very happy life with his new family. He now knew he had never been ugly or been a duckling. He had only been misunderstood. Well, wasn't that a lovely story? You know, boys and girls, doesn't matter really what you look like. You're part of our family here at Little Treasures. But greater than that, you're part of God's family in the whole world. And every one of you is special, no matter how we look. I might look a little bit strange with my hat on today, but God still loves me, and God still loves you, no matter who you are. You're part of His family. So when you go out this week to Clonakilty Bay, and let's hope the weather's good, go down and have a look at all those birds. See how different they are. God made every single one of them, and they're different, yes, but He loves them too, all the same. Now, I've one final challenge for you, and that's to tell you about a virtual nativity drama that I hope you can take part in with us as well. Yes, in our parishes we're hoping to have a virtual nativity. What that involves is if you can get your parents to video you doing various scenes of the nativity, you send them in to us, we pass them on to a company called Play It By Ear, and they're going to give us a lovely production of a virtual nativity, and that'll be ours for Christmas. So if you'd like to be involved in that, get your mum and dad or whoever's looking after you to email me at this email address here, and I'll be able to send out the relevant information to you, and you can be part of our virtual nativity. So boys and girls, until next time, bye!